All right. So it's Wednesday, and I just realized I haven't filmed the video for last week yet. Well, technically, I realized it last night, but it was already too late in the evening. So today is Wednesday, and I'm going to teleport myself back about 3 days ago when it was still Sunday, so I can tell you about my week. Um, Last week was quite an interesting one. I think the highlight of the week is definitely joining Terra. That was like kind of like a big, let's say, energetical moment and an energetical shift in my being. It triggered me greatly because yeah, I was kind of like, I don't know, expecting it or like looking forward for it to start, and then it kind of started and it like messed up my schedule a little bit. I um I found out basically Wednesday that the meeting is on Thursday and that I had something planned during that time. That kind of like I needed to cancel last minute, needed to scramble. Um, and yeah, I kind of really didn't like that, that like also like I had to go in person, like 30 some minutes away, which might not be time for, I don't know, Europeans or for Americans, but for me, anything more than 10 minutes is far. Let's put it like that. So you have to drive 30 minutes away. It was a little bit annoying. And then, yeah, um, long story short, I went and it was okay, but again, I got kind of like triggered, all throughout that night, Wednesday through Thursday night, like I couldn't really think about like I had dreams about it and I couldn't really think about anything else. I was kind of like, yeah, I need to do it, but there was a lot of resistance within my being. And even going there, like I felt sick. Like I woke up that morning and like I had a little bit of a stomach issue. Um, yeah, I participated in this meeting and I was definitely not feeling my best. And I was like, yeah, quite weak. I didn't really eat that day. I only ate some rice and stuff, and then I took some carbon pills, because yeah, my stomach kind of hurt and my head hurt. It was kind of like a very weird bodily feeling. Um, I thought it was something that I ate, but then like I saw that some other men in the men's group in Bali basically posted that well, several of them have been feeling like that, and maybe it's like an energetical shift within Bali, and it's like maybe like a bigger kind of thing um, that's happening. So yeah, that could have been it. And then I kind of like left it at that. I also went to the networking event on Thursday night, but it wasn't it. Like I wasn't really feeling okay. I wasn't really in the mood of talking to anybody, so I just came home and yeah, chilled, relaxed, like try to get back into it because next day on Friday, I was gonna go to a booth where Annabelle was, and I was still kind of like I don't know, feeling a little bit bad. And on the way to Ubud, I basically thought that it's probably because of Terra. It's probably because of Terra that I'm feeling so bad because that this is creating a big shift in my being and like, it's forcing me, it's forcing me to do these things. And there are a lot of emotions, there's a lot of like, triggers around it. And yeah, it's not necessarily about the people themselves inside of the program or like the mentors in the program itself. It's more about like me and my reaction to it and my reaction to authority. Like it was this very strong like kind of thing. Yeah, so the reaction to it, it wasn't clearly the best. And when I say the best, I'm like it was, let's say, unacceptable by my body. Like my body was unacceptable of kind of like these very changes, and yeah, like even throughout it, like like it. Let me give you some examples. Let me give you some examples. So, for example, like I said, even before that, like I had an event that was planned, and then turns out that uh, had a meeting during the same time. And when I basically talk to the supervisor, the guy, he's like, well, like blah blah blah, I've had this meeting for all this time, and like I didn't, I don't know if I can come to the meeting because it's a short notice and I had something that I've been planning for 3 weeks and, blah, 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 blah. And he said, you don't come, you like get out from the program. If I don't come, I get out from the program. But like very simple, like very simple, very straightforward, no bullshit around. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? Because blah, 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 blah. Internally, internally, that's literally how I felt. And I was just like fuming out of my ears at this kind of like, behavior. And yeah, then there were like a bunch of other kind of like these smaller issues. And yeah, I realized them on the way to Buddha. I realized that, bro, it's actually probably because of this why my body is like, like reacting and overreacting and stuff like this. And yeah, I talked to one of my friends, Melissa, who's been in the program and who's like, more spiritual. Um, and yeah, even I'm talk like while talking to her, I realized that like what I'm really resisting is authority, like, and it's kind of like that's actually kind of the reason why I got into it, like I'm definitely very resistant to authority. I don't like it, and I've never liked it when people tell me what to do without a reason, And my dad told me like, well, just do this because I say so. I was like, but fuck you. I want to understand why, and I want to know why, and like, yeah, kind of like I've rebelled most of my life to that type of authority, and now it was again coming this type of authority at me that was like, well, it's my way or the highway, and I realized that like, well, that's actually something interesting that I'm here to internalize, because I'm very much like, oh, we'll find a way to make it work person when I get clients or when I talk to people or employees or stuff like this. Like I'm very lenient, whereas like, well, maybe in business, especially, like maybe it is better to like be more straightforward so then I do get what I want and then I do like, don't make compromises if I don't want to. Uh, yeah, so a way to kind of like even implement this, yeah, as soon as this week, it's like I scheduled some interviews, and out of 6 interviews that I had scheduled, only like 3 people showed up. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not even gonna message these other people, except for one. I did message that one guy that seemed pretty good, but he didn't respond to me. So I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not gonna follow up. Like, hey, look, if you're not capable of showing to the interview or not respecting my time, like, fuck you. We're not gonna be working together. This is like an important thing. Before I would have been like, yes, sending them messages and talking to the guys, be like, hey, what's up? I'm like, look, it's out of my hands. I don't know what's going on. So if you can not show up to the interview, like fuck you, I'll find someone else. And yeah, out of 6 people, 3 people showed up. Two of them, I don't even know what yeah, how good they're gonna be, but I guess we'll see. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be more straightforward in my life, and yeah, to actually internalize some of this authority figure even in my life. Um, yeah, so then I started feeling better. I also probably, yeah, I internalized some aspects. And the other thing that basically Melissa told me is that, hey, I can get out of this program like, and whatever I want, like, I don't have to do it because they tell me that they do it. Like I set up my own goals and I set up kind of like my own rules. Yes, there are rules of the program that I have to like respect, but those people are there to kind of like help me and support me, and I get what I want from the program. It's not like yeah, so it's a mirror basically. Like it's a mirror, and I need to look at it and see, hey, how can I benefit out of this? And then, like if it is triggering me, like what is it that's triggering me? Not to just like, like, fuck you, I'm gonna leave this program because blah blah blah. Because I was even in that mindset. I was like, even like, oh well, I want to leave this program because I'm annoyed with it. But in reality, like I I I was gonna just go back to square one. I was gonna be like, well, I want to leave the program. So first of all, I joined the program for accountability, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna leave the program. I'm gonna find my own person to keep me accountable. And then I start thinking to myself, but how do I do it? Blah blah blah. Again, bro, I haven't found a person to keep me accountable for the past like year. Why do I think I can find it now? There is this system to kind of keep me accountable and to kind of like push me on my nerves, and like I should keep me accountable. Like I should use it to keep me accountable. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. about that. And yeah, now I'm much more, I've eased into it, I'm, oh, okay, cool, bum, 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 easy. And then I obviously, like spend the weekend with Annabelle, who, is leaving in a few days. So yeah, by this video next week, she will have already been gone. So yeah, she's going to Europe, and we kind of spent a couple of days together. It was an interesting feeling. We weren't, like, let's say, as close as like the weekend before, which was like very amazing. This time it was more like, yeah, a little bit of distance. Like we talked more about, like, hey, the reason why she's leaving and how she cannot stand all of these things. And again, like, I know that it's coming from a place where, like, she's very triggered and very, like, just done with this. And I was there, like, I was there when I left Bali originally. Like, I was here for a year and a half first time, and then I was like, fuck it, I'm just out, like, I'm over it, like, I'm done with Bali. And then yeah, I went away, and then, at the right time, like, I came back because I actually wasn't done with Bali, but I see her being in that same space. And then, she vented at me a bunch of reasons why she's going out. And in the meantime, we actually had a very loving time. Like, we went for dinner, and we went for, yeah, kind of like a movie and a nice day out, although it was raining. So yeah, we basically spent some time, or invested some time together, while we're still here, and it was quite of a beautiful experience, and I quite like it. It was a nice weekend. But also, like, slightly scared of what might wait for her there. And I feel like, hey, I'm also, like, slowly getting ready for her to leave, and then for me to stay, and then to do all of these things that, like, a part of, the reason why I feel like she's leaving, that affects me, is that, like, hey, I actually need to be more by myself in my masculine, just grinding, like, fully focused on this, and being with this solo, more masculine energy, and producing. Um, yeah, so I'm quite excited for that, but, like, slightly scared. So I guess we'll see what's gonna come up. Um, it's been an interesting week, to say the least, and I'll see you next week. Peace.